Transit pressure in Birch Heights keeps growing, and with most residents living, working, and shopping here, how we move matters. After months and months of community input, some ideas practical, others less so, the choice is set: a tram network to replace our inefficient and costly bus service. So today, we're going to build out that tram network, connect key areas, and expand our zoning. Let's jump in. Welcome back to Ashland, and let's start things off by reviewing our current transit systems in place. So we just added our passenger rail. Aside from that, in Birch Heights, we have our bus stops. Over in the main part of Ashland, we have a few bus stops or bus stations, and nothing really else here. In Claywood, we have pretty much nothing. In Woodland, we have a tram system, and that runs. Ignore all of these stops. It was just to fix some weird bug that I was facing, and it turns out that there's a whole nother problem here that I need to fix, and I'll do it soon, I promise. Our transit is pretty poor throughout this entire area. I would say Birch Heights probably has the best transit as of right now, and that's kind of designed like that on purpose. If we come over here, we have no transit whatsoever. And I didn't really want to add transit when I was making it because we were still pretty broke. But really, I think the main goal today, reducing our reliance on buses and opting for a more favorable tram system. Trams to me are just the ideal transit. So I want to gut most of these bus stops and replace them with tram stops. Additionally, I think this will spur some more development as well, so we can kind of finish this along here. We'll keep one main line, and that will run from Birch Heights all the way to our bus station over here. All right, now to get started, let's go over to our tram area, and we will find the tram depot. Let's turn on our contour lines just to see what we're working with, and it's not too bad over here. I think this area is probably where we're going to add our tram stops in, and then we can have our trams run through this road right here. I'm noticing there's some crime here, and I have a feeling that's because, yeah, our district hasn't been expanded over here, so I might as well just add this in as well. Okay, now I'm hoping this should resolve. There should be a police car en route. I don't see it yet, but it should hop in any second. Now I'm just going to expand the grid, pretty much following the same principle that we followed for the rest of Birch Heights. Alright, and this is pretty much a rough sketch of how I see this area. There's two routes. Either it goes to more of a low-income residential area, or maybe just residential in general, or it turns into more of an industrial area. Depending on the use case, the roads will adapt to that kind of network. But for right now, this will do the trick. I'm going to upgrade this street all the way through. All right, now let's grab our tram depot and try to find somewhere that this asset fits in really well. I'm thinking maybe right here. The elevation isn't too bad. Yeah, let's try right here. I'm going to delete these roads. And then let's just grab our tram depot and maybe slap that right here. I think maybe we do just a bit of pre-grading first though. So let's try and level this out a bit. And then I just want to snap this somewhere into the middle of this intersection. Okay, and things are looking good from this perspective. We can add 5 more vehicles. Right now we get 10. I think 10 should be enough for our use case, so I'm not going to add any more. We need to upgrade our roads with either the double tram track or the one-way. And I think the double tram track makes the most sense. So from right here, I'm going to bring this all the way down. I'm going to upgrade this one, and then we're going to upgrade this one as well. So we'll start from here, bring it all the way down. Then we'll grab this road right here, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to drag it all the way down, and then we'll add it all along here. And then we're also going to add it all the way up to this one as well. Last but not least for now, we're going to add it to this top road as well. Okay, now I want to start thinking about the tram stops. And I think the first thing I'd have to do is replace all of the current bus stops. So we'll add one right here, here, another one there, another one here, here. And I think we'll go a different route. Instead of replacing all of our current bus stops, I think I'm going to send this line down here and have it loop all the way around. So from this stop right here. We'll place another stop right here, another one right here, and we'll just try and go, I'd say like every 2 blocks. This road somehow turned into a roller coaster, and I'm scared to fix it. I'm scared it's gonna break all of our detailing. Let's try it anyways. Oh, wow. That only made things worse. I'm gonna try and grab all of them this time. And that seemed to fix things for the most part, so I'm gonna leave it there. So we had our stop here, we'll have another one right here. So using our tram line tool, we're just gonna connect all of this up. I'll call this Birch Heights line number 1. We'll change the ticket price down to $2, and we'll set the assigned vehicles to be 2. And let's change this color as well to be kind of like a blue. And so now that we have this loop, I want one more that leaves the tram depot and follows along this road, comes down here, and does a very similar loop. But this time, instead of going all the way down, we'll make the turn right here and we'll go back up. So we'll make the first stop here with the goal of having kind of like a transfer system. So if you came off this line, well, you can walk right over and get on the next one. Then we'll have another stop right here. And I'm trying to get this to be somewhere between 500 and 750 meters. I don't know how well my rough approximation is. We'll say another one right here. And this gives us another transfer opportunity as well. And we're going to start this line. I'm trying to think about where the tram depot is right now. So it'll come down and we'll start the line here. Then we go to this one. And yeah, I think everything makes sense. So I'm going to connect these in. And then I'm just going to name this Birch Heights line number 2. Change the ticket price down to $2. I want it to be accessible. And I feel like $8 is just nuts. It's insane. And we'll make this kind of an obnoxious green. Okay, so we have line 1 and it's looking pretty good. We have the transfer opportunities all along this road, and we have line 2 and that's looking pretty good too. Okay, now I'm thinking, what if we had another tram line that essentially looped around this area? So let's say it starts from right here, goes into our passenger rail, turns right, comes all the way down this road, and essentially just does this entire loop over and over and over again. And I'm trying to consider our other tram lines. What does that look like in terms of transfer opportunity? It's not all that great. So we might want to introduce another line that, I feel like I'm going to make this bloated. Oh no, what am I doing? So we may want to introduce another line that runs maybe along here through this main road and kind of loops around here like our old bus route did. Yeah, I'm going to try it out. So I'm going to start with this one. It'll loop around the station, and then I'll also add one in that loops from here all the way around, kind of like our previous bus route. Okay, and then for this looping route, I think the most obvious one is going to be our passenger rail. So we'll place one there, and we'll come around, we'll make a stop right in front of these low rent buildings. And let's place this kind of right in front of this path. We'll try and go roughly 500 meters. So let's place another one right here, right in front of this path. Then we'll have one right here so they can transfer between lines. We'll come back around, I guess, make another stop right here. We'll have one right in front of this park. And then our last one will be right here. This is kind of your last opportunity to get on and do the loop. And then we'll start this one from right here, bring this into our passenger rail, and then I'll just connect the rest up. And then I'm just going to call this one Birch Heights Rail Loop for now, line number 3. Again, we're going to change that ticket price down to $2, and let's change the color to something that's easily visible, so this kind of like bright yellow. Okay, so we have our loop, we have this loop as well, and we have this loop as well. At least in my head, everything is making sense so far. So we're going to need tram tracks that come from this road down into this road. Okay, we have these ones. And then we need to add the tram tracks here. So I'm going to send these all the way through. And then this will connect into this one. This gets sent all the way through. all the way around, and then it comes all the way through here, does a turn, does another turn. I'm thinking maybe this one, instead of going right, it actually goes straight and does this loop around. Okay, so now with the tram tracks in place, let's try this. So we'll add in our first stop right here. Then we'll add in another one, and we want it to be right near the bus station. Then it's going to turn, and this is the stop for our passenger rail loop. So we'll make another stop right here instead. And again, that offers the transfer opportunity. And then we'll make another stop right in front of our shopping district, because why wouldn't we? We'll have another one right here. And then it's going to come down this road. It's going to make a turn. We'll have one right in front of our post office. And then from here, it'll come to these homes. And let's have one right here. We'll go down roughly, and I'm eyeballing this, and my eyeball is very bad, roughly 500 to 750 meters. So let's say maybe right here on this corner. And then this is a park, and this is a pathway right through, so we can't actually send a tram unless we upgraded this to be a pedestrian road, which I'm kind of interested to do. The only problem I see with that is it would be serving less instead of just turning left and then going down this road. And because of that, I think I'm going to just make the turn anyways. So we'll turn left from here. We'll make a stop in front of our school, and then we'll make a stop, let's say right in front of this. I believe it's a fire department. Yeah, so let's remove this stop, because I could just see a massive accident happening if we had that stop right in front of our fire department. We'll make one right in front of these buildings. We'll have one right in front of this business. Last but not least, we'll have one right here. And I feel like this should complete the loop. So we'll start here, and then we'll go right to our bus station. And then it's the same thing. I'm just going to finish this off. Okay, and then we'll call this one Birch Heights Bus Station Loop line number 4. And I just want the normal tram asset, and let's change the price down to $2, and we'll change the assigned vehicles down to 2. And let's make this something very easy to see, maybe like a mix between green and blue. Okay, and I think this should cover a large portion of our area. So we have our bus station loop, we have kind of our main loop, that's the blue line. We have our rail loop, and then we have this line as well, which does our loops. And I feel like these are pretty solid. I'm not seeing anything that kind of sticks out as, oh wow, this is really bad. And there are currently no vehicles. So let's upgrade our tram depot with a little bit more vehicles. There we go. And then we should be good on that front. I'm going to quickly get rid of these lights while I'm over here. Now let's pick one of these to take a quick trip around, and I think maybe our rail loop. Look at all the activity. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. You know, I really wish there was a way to give transit priority. I think that would be really, really cool. I'd love to see trams dominate. Another 3 people. Not great, not bad. I wonder if I made it rain, would that windshield wiper actually function? I have a feeling it wouldn't, but I want to try anyways. So let's go into, where is it? Our weather. Let's enable precipitation, and let's just go 100%. And my guess is that it won't, but it would be really cool if it did. It's the small things sometimes. And no, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it would. Oh, it would be just a small little cool detail. Oh my god, what was that? You just hit a little child. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with the driver of this tram? Oh my. And that is it. That is the tram ride complete. Aside from a bit of jank with the actual ride itself, I think it's pretty good. And yeah, I think the trams right now are in a really good place. I'm always open to feedback because I'm not a transit planner, and it's kind of my weakness. Right now, we're only seeing about 100 to 200 more people per month on our trams. Kind of disappointing. I'm also not seeing too many conflicts with our actual buses themselves. And if that's the case, I might just leave them in for now as kind of legacy routes until we fully transition into a tram system. But yeah, I'm really not seeing anything other than this accident right here. Wow, moving at a snail's pace, okay. And this is blocking up our tram. Yeah, if I'm not seeing any conflict, I think this is more of an opportunity to transition to trams over time rather than all at once. And wow, this is ridiculous. I'm guessing everyone wants to go to Ashland Heights. Yeah, 446 passengers. The line is at 112% usage. Let's bump those vehicles up to 8. I think that's a bit overkill, but we'll see. Honestly, if we really want to improve this, we could send a tram line all the way into here. I just don't know if that's really going to happen. That feels like a bit of a stretch for what we're doing in Birch Heights. And I'm noticing there's a bit of traffic right here in this junction. I'm tempted to create a bit of a bypass for the traffic turning right, but that's not really where the problem is. The problem is with the traffic turning left. And I wonder if giving this the ability to turn left as well would help. The only thing that worries me is that I can't set it to only be left during lights. So the other way to fix this would be to turn this into a 5-lane asymmetrical and then give them that turning priority. It's definitely worth a shot, but I don't prescribe to the idea of adding more lanes will fix traffic, because usually it just won't. And that gives us a power line issue, and I wonder why. Okay, so I reconnected our power into our water and sewage, so that should be fine. We now have a dedicated turning left lane. Although honestly, I'm still a bit worried about this. I'm not a big fan of the way this is going to be set up, but I'll keep it for now just to see if it improves things a little bit. Because yeah, it seems like a lot of people want to turn left. And it makes sense because our interchange is right here. So they want to get onto the highway and get out of here. And it looks like there's a very big problem. You cannot turn right here for some reason. I'm also going to remove unsafe. Don't do any U-turns here. There's no reason to do a U-turn here. It's banned. If you do a U-turn here, you will go straight to jail right away. Overall though, I'm not actually concerned about this. This seems like a reasonable amount of traffic to me. There's nothing that screams this needs to be fixed right now. Traffic like this happens in real life all the time. It's what we get for being dependent on cars. Okay, now that we added in all these trams, I think it's time to justify some zoning. To start things off, I don't really want to get too crazy about this. I've been very, very crazy about everything in Birch Heights so far. I have tried so hard to make this perfect. And now I want to let go a little bit of that perfection and just try and speed things up. So with that in mind, I'm going to go with a bit of zoning. I'm going to try and customize this though, so I'm not just going to zone things in and leave it be. I'm going to try and make it look nice. And I think the way we're going to do this is going to start things off with probably some row homes here. And I'm thinking we could definitely use the Southwest medium density as well. We haven't used that in Birch Heights, and I do want to see some variation, especially with our row homes. Otherwise, everything will kind of look like this right here. And not saying it's a bad thing, but if we go over into Woodland, you can clearly see there's a very, very specific style in this area, and it doesn't change all that much. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be a good thing, but also at the same time, it just kind of blends in. And looking at it from here, I think it looks nice. But as you get to this level and you go through, every building kind of looks the same. And I was so tempted to go through with decals and change this up. And one of the ways I wanted to change this up was to actually place decals on the building itself. So by doing something like this right here, you get something that feels just a bit different, and it doesn't have to be all that much dramatic. See, we put a little bit of stains on here, get something that feels a bit more dirty, kind of something like that, and it starts to feel a bit different. But of course, doing this for every single building would just be crazy. It would seriously be crazy. And it's funny because I say this as I start doing it for these buildings right here, but I'm going to walk away now. But even something like that just changes it up. It makes it feel a bit more unique and not so repetitive. So now when I look at this area, I can clearly see there's a slight distinction. Anyways, I'm rambling, so I'm going to move on. So for zoning here, let's start with, I think maybe we'll go with some vanilla medium density row housing. Okay, now with lot depth 3, I think we could find a way to make these EU buildings work. I actually really like them. They remind me of something I'd see kind of near me. And I'm going to add them all along here first. And then at random, I'm just going to delete these two. I think that's actually almost perfectly in the middle, but I'm not even going to count because I'm not trying to get perfection here. And then I'm going to send an alleyway kind of right in the middle. And then is there a way we can get this to be a nice white color? There definitely is. And yeah, this definitely isn't working. I'm going to bulldoze all of these. Instead, I'm going to go with the North American assets. Even these ones could probably work pretty well. And then let's see, how about white instead? Yeah, I think this can work. And then I'm going to grab these and move them over, try and center it just a bit. Let's say right about there. And then right beside it, let's try and find some southwest assets. This right here, I think this is actually a pretty good fit for our water. And then can we get a unified color? Or actually, I kind of like the way this color scheme is laid out. Maybe I'll stick with just these two colors right here and create a pattern. And I think that's pretty nice. The only thing I don't like is the door. It's kind of this weird brown color. And I'm probably getting honestly way too specific about this. And this is our most colorful area yet. So last but not least, I'm going to bring down the saturation just a tiny bit. And we'll do the same thing for the blue. There we go. And that feels just a little less dramatic. And I'm going to grab these and do the exact same thing on the other side. These are all one cohesive development, happened roughly at the same time. Actually, I think, you know what? There is one change I want to make. And I'm going to grab all of the blue houses. I'm going to slightly pull them back. There we go. I think that right there is so much better. It just creates that slight variation that I think is definitely needed. Same thing over here. I think this is fine, but it's missing that just slight variation. There we go. That creates a bit of depth, and I think that is very, very welcome. Then we'll grab our two colors, and we'll just do the opposite. So blue where red is, and red where blue is. And then this time we'll pull the red back, and there we go. I think that's looking pretty nice. And maybe we'll add some type of pathway back here. You know, I wasn't intending on using the railway ground cover 04, but I actually think it looks really cool. It kind of feels like a pathway, and it adds a bit of texture. I'm not 1 billion% certain, but I do really kind of like it. Surprisingly a lot. And the only issue with net lanes is that they conform to the terrain pretty heavily, so sometimes they'll fade out, kind of like how they are right here. I'm fine with it for right now. I'm still not even sure if I'm going to go with this, but I'm going to add in our next set of houses. I'm thinking, let's go back to our vanilla, and let's grab these ones right here. They're nice and small, and they're different from everything else so far. Then again, we're going to center these, and we'll also vary it up ever so slightly. Then we'll grab them all back and pull them in closer. And then for color, a nice white. Actually not too big of a fan of the white here, so maybe more of a darker gray. We'll make this one gray. Add that there and have it alternate. And then we'll just have it flip on this side. Yeah, and there we go. And let's get rid of the net lane here. Maybe we'll just have a gravel path, connect these two areas up. Something like that. And right now they don't really have anywhere to park. And even though I don't want to add parking in, I would expect some form of parking. So let's go and add in some street parking. And I think we'll use this 2-lane perpendicular parking road. And we'll cut that off like that. And I'm surprised to see that there isn't any parking forming on this one. I'm wondering if that's because these assets have connections into them for the car. I feel like it would happen on the same side if we did it on here. It most likely would. Yeah, it's definitely because these assets have garages, so they don't even need parking anyways. They have parking in the asset itself. These ones do, and we'll do something more like that instead. And then I'm just going to drag this net lane back over. I decided to make it a nice little pathway, kind of a pathway alley. It's funny. I said I didn't want to make this complicated, and I feel like I've made this complicated, but I think it turned out pretty nice. Now to simplify the rest of this, I'm just going to add some trees here. Otherwise, I could spend all day doing this. And getting a street level feel for it, it's pretty nice. Sometimes when you are looking at the top of it, the trees tend to be a bit overwhelming. There's definitely quite a few here, but when I'm looking at the street, it doesn't feel all that bad. Yeah, I think that's the formula right here for any more row homes in this area. Okay, and I've spent about 30 minutes just on this area right here. It's honestly kind of sad. I am just awful when it comes to wasting time, but I'm happy with how it came out. Okay, now right here, we have this parking road. We have our tram access. Let's add some commercial in here. And then I want to add a pedestrian street right through the side of this. Something kind of like that right there. And then maybe another one right here too. Now along this side, let's just get some more. Let's try vanilla row housing in. And while that fills in, I'm going to extend all of these. Okay, and I just got carried away, and zoning back into reality. Honestly, I think that looks really nice. It took a bit of extra time, but you know what? I think that turned into a nice little commercial area. And I think these buildings are fine. I don't think they're anything special. Let's do something similar to what we did for these ones. And yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I think if we just change the time so we can actually see the front. Yeah, I like it. Okay, now over here, I don't think that we have a lot of amenities, green space. Not really. It's kind of even far away from our main park. I know we have a few small pocket parks hanging around. I mean, we have two right here, but let's get something a little bit more leisure-based in here. Maybe, ooh, this would just barely fit if we didn't add this road in. I don't want to go too heavy on a fountain. I'd love to get the large city park in, but I know that's not going to work. I think everything else is probably just a bit too big. I feel like the color plaza is probably our best fit. And if we place it right about here, it should still connect. And I don't know what it is with this asset, but I feel like every time I place it, I always have problems with the terrain. So maybe we'll set it to this height right here. And no, that didn't work. So instead, I'm just going to trim this off. Yeah, I'm going to replace it. So we'll replace it with really any concrete medium should do. Yeah, definitely should not do. That was a big mistake. Let's just try this one right here. Yeah, and that right there does the trick for me. And then we'll extend this path all the way through. And then let's actually make sure it's functional. So we'll go into our pedestrian invisible paths. And again, I think as long as it gets to one of these, it's functional. But I'll take it a step further. And yeah, walking through the basketball court, probably not going to happen. I'm actually tempted to just send it right through as well. And the goal is to get some sort of activity walking through here, so it seems like people are actually using it. And then we'll also add one in here. And yeah, I think that's going to work. Now to cover up whatever the heck is going on here, I'm going to place some good old trees along the side of here. Then we'll have one big oak right here. And then to finish this park off, I'm just going to apply some grass surface to the entire area. And there we go. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty nice. Now I actually want to send this pedestrian path pretty much all the way through, probably to right about here, because we have another tram line here and our bus stop. So I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to get crazy and just do it. The only thing we need to watch out for is the grade. It gets pretty steep. 3.2% here, 1.5% there, and we'll end it right here. Although I think one thing that could be beneficial is also sending it all the way down here too. I think that would really improve the walkability. I think the only thing that needs to happen is maybe a key wall right on here, or maybe a retaining wall. Yeah, I definitely think a retaining wall is going to help right there. And then we'll slope up to here just to try and fix a bit of that wonkiness. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks pretty nice. All right, then we'll just connect these two in. All right, now it's time to really pick up the pace. So I'm thinking more row homes along here, maybe a bit of medium density along this one, And then probably just more row homes over here, maybe a bit of commercial here. I'm really good at planning. I am, honestly, don't even worry about planning, because when you're with me, I can plan everything. I'll make sure everything makes perfect sense all the time, 24/7. I'm thinking if we go to a lot width of 4, we can probably use a few of these assets right here. I can justify it in my head. We have the trams, this could have been redeveloped. We're getting kind of closer to our rail. That's kind of a weak excuse though. So my justification will be that this will be more of a redeveloped area. We have the park, we have the trams. So maybe we'll see a few of these along here, and we'll try and get these nice and close to feel like they're one cohesive building. And definitely not. This is why I take a look from far away, because it feels like a massive giant structure, and it doesn't make sense with the rest of the area right now. A lot with the 3 gives us a few good assets to choose from. Maybe we could do something a bit more like this. Yeah, and I think that works. And on this side, we'll just go with some more row homes. This time, let's take a look at the Southwest pack. And I like this asset and I want to use it, but not right here. So I'm thinking right here instead. We'll place a few of these down. Come on to the other side, place a few more. And then we're just going to grab all of these ones in the middle, pull them back just a bit. I think that right there works. And on this side, we're going to do the same thing. And then we're just going to vary up the colors a tiny bit. It's still a bit too grand for my liking, but I'm going to keep it in instead of always putting roadblocks in front of myself. Then right here, I'm going to use some of our, what are they called? It's the Northeast, I believe. And I'm going to use them right here with a goal of trying to replicate some form of upgrades or improvements over time. So these areas were improved due to the trams, due to the passenger rail. This one has been left the same. And really, I'm just doing it for variance. But maybe some of them have upgraded into maybe a more substantial or nice building like these 3. I don't know if I'd really call them nicer. And then we'll get a little bit of move it action going on here. And then just a bit of recoloring. And yeah, so we have this jarring transition from these older style buildings into these somewhat newer style buildings. Then along this side, I'm going to grab the asset I wanted to use earlier. I believe it's 3 depth. Yes, it is. I'm going to create a little community right here, or development. Development is a much better word to say. This isn't really a community. And I just want to brighten some of these assets up because right now they feel kind of dark and gloomy. And yeah, I think that's pretty nice. Now these assets don't have any parking. I'm wondering, can we add the parking road in? We could, but we'd have to do it on this side, and we'd have to sacrifice some of our tram accessibility. And I don't know if I want to do that. I think we're going to do it anyways, just because I could see these people wanting some form of parking. I'm not a big fan of it, but yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And then back here, we're going to connect a little pathway into this bus stop, and I believe it's also a tram stop as well. Yes, it is. And then I don't have any crazy plans for this area, so I'm just going to add the trees in right now. And then I want somewhat of a stark contrast between these buildings and this area right here. And I was thinking about just adding in some more of the older row homes, but I have a feeling we probably need more jobs. So let's quickly take a look at this. We have 3,261 households, 8,233 residents. In this area, there's roughly 4,000 adults and 1,200 seniors. And I cannot remember if seniors work or not, but I'm going to assume they do. And so that's roughly, and I'm bad at math, 5,200 employees that we need, or 5,200 people who are able to work. We only have 4,600 jobs, and most of our positions are open and highly educated. So definitely we have a bit of a education problem as well, it seems like. And let's actually take a look at our school. If I had to take a guess, I'm going to assume our high school is fine and our elementary school is at capacity. So yeah, our high school is perfectly fine and our elementary school is definitely at capacity. So we're going to add another elementary school in. If we're already spending all the investment in this area, we might as well make sure we're doing it right. I was tempted to add the school right here, but I honestly think it makes more sense to have it right here instead, just due to having this building kind of being a big outlier on the outside of our density. But it would look nice, unless we find a smaller asset, which we could definitely do. And with a little bit of love and care, I think the primary school, the UK elementary school, could definitely work. I would imagine this would be somewhat of an older school. It was probably here before the increase in density, and I'm all for it. If we need to, we can always upgrade it in the future. And right now it has 1,000 students. Let's make sure this is only set to Birch Heights. And I feel like this is dramatic. Yeah, this is pretty dramatic. I guess we can add a key wall, and then we can just slope this out. And we do have the upgrades that we can add. This one is 5,000 a month, gives us an extra 50 students. Wow, that's insane. That's a lot. This one's 5,000 a month and gives us an extra 500. Yeah, I think the logic there is a bit broken. I don't know what's going on with that one. I think right now we'll leave it as it is. I don't really think we need to do anything more with this. And then I want to get some businesses in here. And because again, I completely got off topic. So 4,600 employees, I believe it was roughly 5,200 people that can work. Yeah, about 4,600 employees. So I think what we need to add the most of is probably going to be commercial, because we don't want to get anything too highly educated. So I think I'm just going to put in some commercial right here. It'd be a pretty good place for it anyways, so I can see it happening. And as I'm thinking about this, I think we probably need a gas station in this area. I'm not even sure if we have one. Yeah, definitely not seen any gas stations, so I think I'll put one right here for now. And then maybe another one somewhere along here. Maybe right along Hamilton Street. And I think right along here, I want somewhat of a market almost. I want to add in this building, but for some reason it won't snap to the pedestrian road. That's fine. We'll force you to snap whether you like it or not. And as you're walking down this pedestrian road, you have all this opportunity to come in and stop at this little markety type building. And then along here, I'm going to grab one of our paths and just connect it directly into the other side. I'll find somewhere roughly in the middle, it doesn't have to be perfect, and connect it into here. And then I think maybe we could see one of these commercial buildings here. I'd love to get two of them in, but there's just not enough room. So maybe I'll do something like one here, one there, and then we'll just add in 2 row homes. And it can pretty much be anything. I'm not worried about what spawns in. And I hope that isn't too dramatic or crazy. And then right here we have our school, so we definitely want to make sure we have a little bit of commercial along here. That way students have somewhere to go to buy food, and some residential here. Ideally some form of low rent housing. And I'm not sure if we have anything that really fits the bill that isn't too massive, but I still want to try. So let's go low rent. And we have these buildings, and I actually really like them. I'm not so sure that it fits in right here, but I think I'm going to add them anyways, just to break things up a bit. Oh, they won't even fit in. Can I force them to fit in? I could, but it would be a bit of a pain. What about the other ones? This one doesn't have parking. This one could fit in. So if we try something kind of like this, yeah, and we get something that's just a bit janky here, the way to fix that would be to add a key wall. It's kind of sad. It almost feels like it's separating them from the pedestrian path. Yeah, I'm just not so sure if that fits in with our downtown area. It's unfortunate because it is a low rent housing, and so, you know, they're obviously not in the best circumstances, and that kind of hurts. I wish we had more low rent housing assets that just weren't so big and massive. So the way I can think about this is, what if I go to the UK pack and I turn on row homes? Okay, we won't get anything. I think these right here could work, and they kind of match the style of the school as well. I think these could definitely work too. So maybe as we're getting closer to our rail, even though there's no stop here, we increase our density just a bit. And I think we'll have one here and one here, and then have a path in between. And then right here, I don't really want to have parking. We have all of this transit, and if this is kind of like a low rent subsidized area, I would prefer to see people use our transit. And did I put these all backwards? I think I put every single one backwards. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna spin these around. All right, and then this gives us just enough room to squeeze in some parking here because, you know, why not, I guess. But first things first, I think we can squeeze in some here. We just need to pull that to right about there. We could probably squeeze some in here too. This one has garages, so we don't need to worry about it. And the question is, who would have priority? Would the low rent subsidized housing have priority for parking, or would the commercial? I'm going to take a guess and say the commercial, but we're going to give it to our subsidized housing instead. There's all this pedestrian friendly means of transportation, so let's just try and do something for the people who don't have as much. Can we change the color of these? Because I'm not a big fan of this color. No, we can't. We can change the color of the roofs though, and I'll take it. And then right here, we need one last thing. And I want it to be smaller than these buildings. We only have a lot depth of 2. So I think we'll go with these terraced flats. I would love to add one more in, but there just isn't enough room. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Parking behind here. Wow. And let's go something like this. It is a bit obnoxious. That's the only thing I don't like. So let's try and upgrade this down to something a bit more tame. I wish I could have the size of these without having them be one-ways. Yeah, and I'll take that. That right there will do it. Okay, and then for these areas right here, we're kind of stepping up to our density. So we want to make sure we're respecting that. I was thinking about using these assets right here, and I have a good friend out in the UK. One time he was telling me that these assets would be in areas that he would not want to be in. I don't know how true that is, so feel free to call me out. But he said these kind of assets would be in like sketchy parts of the neighborhood. I still kind of like them though. They feel like small apartment buildings that don't feel too dramatic. You know, they're not like this, and they're definitely not like these ones over here. So I'm going to add them in. But yeah, let me know if that's true or not, because I honestly don't know. I was kind of in disbelief when he said that. And I'd also like to see somewhat of a step up. So as we get further down, we'll have our biggest one here. And let's see if we can just get a bit of variation alongside here. I don't know how much I'll like this, but I think really what I need to do is get this area done, and then that'll determine whether this looks good to me or not. Otherwise, you can get wrapped up in all these small details without actually moving forward. And that's something that I struggle with a lot. If you've noticed, I'm gonna grab our gravel pedestrian path, snap right onto the back of this gas station, and send that through. And then we need somewhat of a step of density, and we also need to add in more commercial as well. So I'm thinking, is there commercial assets that can provide us with that level of density? And I think this northeast commercial asset definitely can. And can this color go onto this asset? Kind of. They're slightly different. This one is level 3, and this one is level 2. But to be honest, this one to me looks nicer. This one has a slightly cleaner roof, I think. Yeah, it does. It does. But then it gets dirty again as it goes up to level 5. It's a bit odd, but it's okay. I'd kind of like to see these side by side if they can. And yeah, they just barely fit. And I only just remembered why I never used the UK assets, aside from the low density housing. And that's because when I use them, I start to crash. So I'm hoping I don't. I love them. There's so many good assets that I want to use, especially in the row homes. And as long as I don't crash, that to me is a sign that they are good to use again. I'm also not considering the problem that we're adding more adults and seniors or more people in general into the area, yet our jobs are not increasing to match that level. I think first things first, I'm just gonna go with some North American low density business. I'm gonna give it a bunch of space in hopes that it will generate a few different buildings. And we got 2, let's try this again. 1, 2. Yeah, I guess I'll let it do its thing. I'll see how that turns out. And then just to make things a bit more interesting here, and to apparently spend the city's money for no good reason, I'm going to send the pedestrian road up even further, and we can just barely get it to be 180, and I'm fine with that. I'm just going to send this all the way up, and then I'm going to connect in right about here, and then I'm going to turn this into a quay wall, and then I'll just flatten out everything over here. I'm going to flatten this area out, send this road further down, and this is probably a big investment for something that wouldn't be invested in all that heavily. We'll add a nice little basketball center. I think this would be pretty huge for all of the kids over here. The only problem is this road isn't going to like it, so let's downgrade this into, we'd have to upgrade it to be a full pedestrian road. Don't really want to do that, but if that's the only choice that I have, then I'll just do it. And then this will get keyed off. There should be no reason to park here. This is more of a student activity. I only wish that I didn't have to use the pedestrian roads in order to give it functionality. I wish I could just place it closer to it, and then just say they're part of the same building. And now these two buildings are fine. I'm just gonna make sure there's the key wall here and the key wall here. Okay, now it's starting to get a bit thin here. When I mean thin, I mean kind of narrow. And so I want to get back to a more wider scope. Right here we have our crematorium, and we're saving all this extra room for upgradability. So we're not going to touch this. But on the other side, we do have the opportunity to increase our jobs, most likely. Let's take another look. Yeah, 4,800 jobs. We're slowly increasing it. We have 193 open positions, and pretty much all of those are highly educated. So yeah, our education pipeline is kind of failing us right now. Our elementary school capacity is only 8,200, and we have 16,000 eligible. And I feel like that's probably going to come from these areas. Maybe this area as well. Oh, definitely Shanland Park. Let's take a quick look at their elementary school. Yeah, and it's maxed out. Let's add in the extra classrooms and just 2 sets of extra classrooms, yeah. So I feel like this should make a big improvement on here. Yeah, just bumped our capacity up a little bit. How is this school looking? 478 people out of 1,000. Yeah, so really not making too big of a dent. And that's because in this area, there's only 2,219 children. So our maximum capacity would be 2,219. And in our main elementary school, we're maxed out at 1,700. So yeah, I can definitely see how this makes sense. It's the areas over here where we're really struggling. And I feel like that was kind of by design almost. At the start of the city, we were so broke all the time that there was no room to expand anything pretty much ever. So I think all of this requires a major revisit. But all of that is besides the point. We need to increase our well-educated and educated jobs, and that's going to be commercial. Yeah, so this business right here, they sell electronics, and it's primarily educated and well-educated. This is a software company, and surprisingly, it's actually more skewed towards educated and well-educated rather than highly educated. And right here, we have 30 highly educated. Yeah, so this one skews towards highly educated and it's telecom. Honestly, these numbers are kind of surprising. This is a commercial store, 5 well-educated, 26 educated. Let's take a quick look at our workforce. No way, we can set this to be a specific district. This has got to be the coolest thing. This has got to be the coolest thing. I love this. Okay, let's go to Birch Heights. Where are you? Our major unemployment is in our uneducated, our poorly educated, and our educated. Everyone else is doing somewhat fine. So let's keep this up so I can actually remember. And I think that to me means we definitely need some more industrial, but we could put the industrial up here. There's definitely some opportunity for a bit of industrial. I think in the meantime, what we'll do right here is we'll have some commercial, and let's just go our plain old vanilla low density buildings. We'll zone all of that in, and then we'll swap up just a portion of it with some southwest, and then we'll swap up another portion of it with northeast low density, and we'll let all of that fill in. Okay, and while that's filling in, on this side, we're increasing into our density again. So I want to make sure I respect this. Let's open up Find It and grab our commercial, and we'll go with high, and we'll get rid of any packs. Let's set this to like level 2, and we only have a lot depth of 2 here, so we'll also set that to 2. And I don't want anything too fancy, so we'll say one of those, another one of these maybe. Then we'll change this up to level 3. Again, I really don't want anything too fancy. Because they're all a bit much, I'll probably just put 2 of those there. Have one right here. I'll bring these just a bit closer together. And then I'll leave some space in between. I would say adding a few big buildings in here isn't going to stick out too bad. So I'm going to do it. I'll start with this one right here. Maybe something like this right here. And wow, it's filling out. It's looking really nice. I like it so far. And yeah, our poorly educated, they're the ones suffering the most here, which makes me feel really, really bad. Even our educated, they're suffering too. So we'll take a break from over there to add in a bit of industrial over here. And I don't want to go too crazy. I have a bigger plan for an industrial area, probably somewhere along here, maybe even kind of all along here. And I really want to get these industrial signature buildings in soon. Another thing I have to be careful of is the pollution that will blow over to all of our suburbs. So let's take a look at that before we do anything else. And yeah, any pollution will go directly into our suburbs. So the best place to put it is going to be right here, unfortunately. And that'll blow straight over there, and it won't even matter in the slightest. And I don't want these to feel really puny or tiny. And actually, we could use Mimosa's or Mimonsi's Clean Warehouse. Sorry if I butchered your name. First things first, I'm going to cut out this road right here. It's taking up a lot of space. Let's grab a few of these. Pull them in nice and tight. And then we're going to convert this to be an alleyway. Try and get it right in the middle. We'll send the alleyway to also go all the way around. So we're going to do a bit of terraforming first. Also convert this down to be an alleyway as well. And then I want to upgrade this outside alleyway to be a parking lot road. And it doesn't seem like there's all that good back access in this asset. So I want to make sure we're giving it. So I'm not going to add parking back here. Although we could add parking on the other side. And let's see. Altogether, this adds 6, 12, about 150 employees. And wow, most of them are well educated. That is kind of a problem. This one has poorly educated, and this one has poorly educated as well. Okay, now let's quickly change the color of these, get them to be something a bit more neutral. And even though this little industrial area right here isn't a lot, it should be a pretty big increase to the amount of open positions that we have for our poorly educated and our educated. And then before I leave this area, I'm just going to make it a bit more dusty. All right, and for now, that's how I'll leave this area off. How are we looking? Yeah, the jobs are mostly being taken. And let's go back into InfoLoom, and we'll go into our workforce, I believe. And in Birch Heights, we have, we barely made a dent. All right, time to continue on with the zoning. And we have a few key areas left. We have this plot right here, and then a few of them up here. And we're really gonna pick up the pace this time. Okay, right here, we have our bus station. We have our passenger rail really close by. I think we're going to step up into some residential density here. Let's say a few low rent buildings. Definitely a few low rent buildings, but not this many. I'm going to grab these two and actually bring them closer to the train tracks. And then if I can, I just want to send a pedestrian road through here, or even just an alleyway. Just ever so slightly too close. I'm going to add it in anyways and just move these over even more. It's a bit close, but I think it should be fine. And this just gives a bit more room to get some buildings in. Right here, it kind of feels like something is missing. So I'm thinking maybe we'll add in a nice little park. There we go. It's not the most elegant playground, but for what this area is, I think it should work. And wow, it's really coming together now. It's crazy to think that it was only just 2 or 3 episodes ago that I was building out this plaza. And the vision I had for this area is actually, it's coming together. I don't know how else to say it. I wanted this to feel very big, kind of like Toronto, but not as awful. It'll probably continue to right about here. And then I want to transition into something else down the line. And eventually we'll do something with our waterfront. Right now, we're not really doing anything with it. What is going on over here? Okay, we have a fire problem over here, and I'm gonna help solve this because this is something that's been ongoing in this area for a while, and we have the money, so we might as well get a little bit crazy with it. So we have a lot of fires happening in Sunnyside, Pinford, Brightwater, and Darnley, and I think that we could probably just add our fire station in right here. And then we currently get 10 vehicles, which is a lot. And we can add this to serve pretty much this entire area. And I really hope that improves things over here. It seems like we're also having somewhat of a police problem as well. And I feel like that's because this police station is currently backed up with trash. And I'm wondering, is our recycling center operating? Okay, so it is operating. We are processing. We only have 15 vehicles. Let's add the garbage truck depot into here. And that should already make a really big improvement. And let's just make sure it has access to all of these areas. It definitely does. And let's include this into our district as well, because we're having problems here. I'm going to delete this police station. It's not enough for this area. And we only have 6 vehicles, so we're going to add the extension to add the 6 more. That gives us a total of 12, and we'll make sure it's only set to these areas right here. And then over here, it looks like we're having some healthcare problems, which would make sense. I would be surprised if this small medical clinic... Yeah. So I don't know what was going on the last time. The last time I looked at it, it said it had 0 to 25 patients. So now that we're rolling in a bit more money, we have more to invest into our cities. I think we'll keep it simple and we'll place this healthcare clinic right alongside here. And then we'll add some parking for it. And this would be for the people who work here or the people who are having medical problems that need to be seen. And then around it, we'll just zone a tiny bit of commercial. Okay, now to finish a bit of our zoning off, I think just alongside this road, we could see some commercial and some office. And I think to make this area a bit more interesting, I'm going to level all of this out, slope up to here, turn this into a retaining wall, just to have something a bit more visually interesting. Okay, and with that is mostly done for zoning. This area still isn't finished, so I'm not really going to touch this area, but I think we've made a lot of headway with how Birch Heights is shaping up, and it's exciting. Things are finally starting to come together. A lot of our land has been used, and it's looking nice. The only part I don't really like is this little commercial area right here. It looks a bit rough, but I'm going to keep it in because it simplifies things. I created a little, I don't know, what would you call this? Apartment row home complex, kind of like a community. I think all that's left to do is just get a bit of detailing in. So let's start that. Okay, and there we go. That's going to be pretty much it for detailing. I don't want to detail too crazy because I don't want to make this video take any longer than it's already taking. This wasn't really too crazy. I feel like most of these areas looked really nice already. Really just added a few trees in between some of the areas. I mean, that's kind of it. That's kind of it, to be honest. I tried to make this area not too pretty, but I still wanted it to be nice. Just because it's low rent doesn't mean it has to look really bad, especially in somewhat of a nice neighborhood. For the school, I was tempted to plop down a bunch of children, but creatively, I am just at a loss for what to do here. I spent probably like 20 minutes looking for assets to place down here, and I couldn't find any. And I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And then I started doing it, and I'm like, oh no, I'm missing just too many things. I was going to create like some kind of hopscotch type thing. I don't know if that's what it is. It's those things where you throw the rock or you throw whatever it is, and you have to jump to it. But I don't have numbers. And honestly, it's been about 20 years since I've even done that. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I added this little kind of 4 rock pillar. I don't know what it's supposed to represent, but I figured it'd be nice to have something a bit different. I really tried to go less hard on trees as I usually do. And I find that funny because I passed through the 2 areas that I went really hard on it. Right here, just a few paths, a few trees. Try to have something on the side of here so when you're walking across, you do see something pretty nice. In these commercial areas, I didn't want to do anything too crazy, just because it's tough to say how long this will last. This could be redeveloped soon, it could be improved. So I'm going to leave it like that, keep it very simple for now. And in these 2 areas right here, I don't know what this is going to be, and I don't know what it's going to look like in the future. And if I don't know what something's going to look like in the future, or if it's not done, I try to leave it alone. That way I'm not wasting my time. And I think that's everything. If we include the little area that we did earlier, I think that's pretty much everything. Let's transition to a quick before and after. All right, and that's a wrap. I really love how it turned out. I was definitely a bit spooked though when I was adding all the trams. I was trying to plan out the zoning, but I'm pleased to say I think it's a really good addition. And honestly, now that I'm saying all of this out loud, why didn't I add in trams to the pedestrian road? It seems like such a massive missed opportunity. Wow. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to add that in next episode. Also, wanted to quickly say, sorry this episode took so long. I was in the hospital due to a random heart issue out of nowhere. So I've been out of commission for a bit and really just getting back into the swing of things. I'm in my mid-20s, yet I'm worrying about things like I'm 80 years old. I also didn't expect this episode to be so long, so I really tried to keep it flowing fast. I tried to make cuts as much as possible so it wouldn't be 2 hours long, but big thank you to anyone who made it this far, and an especially big thank you to our Patreon members, Ganger, Griffin, and Gary Key. If you want to help support the channel, or you just want to check out Ashland for yourself, head over to Patreon. If you haven't already, a like, comment, and subscription really go a long way. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.